Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 7th year of the competition for the reconstruction of destroyed Palestinian villages. I welcome you warmly after the passage of 7 years from this marvelous competition in which we have seen the talent of young people who are the builders on the future of Palestine. It's not only a competition, we are building the basis for the young people who will build future Palestine. And I particularly want to welcome and thank our jury, determined and very cooperative and very committed jury over this time. Nasser Gurzari, Yara Sharif, Angela Brady, and Rim Kalsoom. This year we have 4 jury, and they are all familiar and very committed to this competition. We value very much their advice and their opinion, which has been borne by experience, because the winners of the previous years now are occupying very high positions in their fields. Some have their own business practice, architecture practice. Others have positions in governments or in companies or in teaching. So the results of the previous competitions have borne fruit, and the young people who won the awards have shown themselves to be truly competent and innovative. This year, we have 47 students in 21 teams. Unfortunately, only 11 submitted their proposal submissions this year. There are some problems. For example, in Berzeit University, the Israelis attacked the university several times and arrested some students and disrupted the curriculum for that. But the others are continuing, and they will be continuing with us in future years. We noticed that this year, number of students selected the same village. I understand that because it's popular in a historical manner, like Tantura. There are many reports and many films about it. And also at Dawaima, which is a subject of a huge and terrible, ugly massacre. But I urge the newcomers to choose new villages. We want to cover all of Palestine. As you will notice, in the year 8, we selected new villages in which they are not only not vacant, the site is not vacant, but partially built on, which means that the design should decide what to do with the existing structures. Is it to destroy them and build on them a true village design, or use them in a certain way? The other thing, I would advise all the coordinators and supervisors, and some of them are here with us today, to take a great deal of care to help the students to read the documents carefully. We get questions which are sometimes very simple from students. The answer is already in the documents. And if the coordinators give them extra time, the students would not need to ask these questions. I also tell students we don't receive questions from themselves. We receive questions from the supervisors. The reason is simple. If the question is valid and important, we have to tell everybody about it, not only the people who ask about it. So urge your students to select this year somewhat what I might call difficult situations to test their ability to deal with it. Not the easy one, not the popular one, not the very well-known one in the media and so on. In 1 week or less than probably 10 days, we are going to announce the selected villages for year 8. So please, supervisors, please have your students ready for that. And with this, I turn over to Nasser to give us, Nasser, chair of the jury, to give us the view of the jury. Over to you, Nasser.
Thank you very much, Salman. I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of the jury, our judges, architect Angela Brady from Brady Maliu, and Yara Sharif from Gulzari Architects, and of course, Reem Kulsoom from University of Westminster. All the jury, as Salman has already mentioned, have been involved with the competition since its commencement 7 years ago. And they are all award-winning practitioners as well as academics, and they are involved. They have been involved, engaged with many projects in the region as well as in Palestine, as well as research, and have visited the site, etc. So it's really good to have them. Given the specificity and the uniqueness of this competition, which is actually not a conventional competition, but it is about visualization of a history and story of communities that has been displaced and erased and reimagined, reimagining a new kind of birth, a new life, and new birth for these villages. It is really very important, and I'd like to really congratulate the participants. It's very important to note that participation in this competition is just as important, if not more, than being nominated, because of its uniqueness, because it is not a conventional competition, because it actually addresses and accumulates and marks history, a reading of the history of Palestine and of these villages. So I also like at this point, as we do it every year, but this we can never say enough, like to specifically congratulate and thank Dr. Salman Abu-Tsita, who is really the heart and inspiration of this event. I'd like to congratulate him for his incredible energy, persistent, fantastic research, and the management of these competition, these events for the past 7 years. The work that you see or has been actually documented, and you can see it on their website, etc., of the past 7 years, only reflects a minute, a very small journey of research and valuable contribution that Salman has made to the history of Palestine. The final shortlist and the nominees that you would see them, they all stood out quite clearly for 4 of us, which was actually quite interesting. We made 4 short. There's a final 4 shortlist, but I think the 4th shortlist came out of probably 6 or 7 maximum. So, and the overall feeling amongst, there were of course commonalities between them. But the overall feeling that we had about the competition since it starts in the past 7 years, we felt as members of the jury that pretty much all the entries contained extensive research. And this kind of extensive research seemed to develop more and more each year, which is quite interesting. And the entries were quite engaged, which I thought, well, we all thought actually was very important, very interesting. They were all very much engaged with the history of the villages. They were quite explicit in terms of exploration of the culture of these villages and their identity. And of course, there were interests amongst all of them for reconstruction and reclamation of their land. Some of the projects were imaginative. They were poetic as well as being pragmatic, which was quite important. It was very interesting for us. This is always a challenge to be poetic, abstract, and conceptual, but yet be able to make very concrete, very actually doable, realizable proposals for the reconstruction of these villages. And they addressed economy, which is important. They addressed some of them agriculture, very specific about agriculture, and ecological concerns. I must say, however, that this year, unlike last year and the year before, the ecological concerns seem to be less evidence in the projects. which is which I hope that would not be the case, given what's happening across our universe and the planet. So hopefully we can return to more concerns, more addressing the ecology, because it's part of the same colonialization, same battle and struggle and resistance against what's happening in Palestine and elsewhere. So the short list and the nominations that we proposed, they did have commonalities, as I said, between them. All proposals were conceptually driven, which was very interesting. They had contemporary design, again, which is something we've been pushing as members of jury for the last few years. They were poetic in their spatial narrative, and they did not overdevelop the site, which is quite important, because tendencies with us architects, and especially when we enter competition, is to just cover every inch of the land with buildings, which is the most damaging we could do to the environment, to our ecology. And actually what was really nice was some of the entries, which you will see later on, the nominations, you will see that there were space which was spread out, there was breathing space, but there was also kind of celebration of the landscape itself, the land space. So overall, we actually really did enjoy the projects, and you would hear from them a bit later. And at this point, I do like to also thank the judges. You would hear more from us a bit later on after the presentations. We'll make more specific comments about each project. And then, of course, Dr. Abu Sita would be announcing the winners. So now it's time for you to enjoy the presentations.
Can we ask Rem now to prompt the some presentations? Let them deal with it. Rem.
Yes, of course. So each presentation has about 6 minutes to present. We like for you to concentrate more on explaining the intention of the design, more than concentrating too much on explaining the research and site, because usually that tends to kind of take away from the amount of time you've got left to talk about the actual design itself. So if we start with, let's say, AQU01.
Shireen Shibat from Al-Quds University. And Dayala Laham.
يعطيكم العافية جميعا. بداية شكر كتير كبير للقائمين على المسابقة اللي أتاحوا لنا الفرصة نوصل مشروعنا للعالم. معكم المهندسة ديالا اللحام، ومعي زميلتي بالمشروع المهندسة شيرين شعبات. رح نقدم لكم مشروع تخرجنا بعنوان إعادة إحياء قرية الطنطورة المطهرة عرقيا بإشراف الدكتور الفاضل أشرف أبو هلال. قرية الطنطورة من القرى اللي هجرت قسريا وتم تطهيرها عرقيا، فمش ممكن تحويلها بشكل كامل لمسارات ومتاحف سياحية، لأنه إعادة الإحياء من وجهة نظرنا بتعني تحقيق حق العودة، وهذا الحكي بيرجع لوجود 530 قرية مهجرة مش ممكن تحويلها كلها لمتاحف وإهمال احتياجات السكان، لأنه بعد انتهاء الاحتلال هاي الناس رح ترجع لأرضها. إحنا اخترنا قرية الطنطورة بالتحديد حتى نسلط الضوء على الإيفنت الكبير اللي صار فيها، اللي هو مجزرة الطنطورة، واللي ما حظي بأصداء عالية مثل باقي القرى اللي تعرضت لمجازر، والسبب الثاني موقعها الاستراتيجي اللي بيميزها. بالنسبة لموقع القرية،
خليكي معي بس شوي، عفوا. Starting with a thank you for the organizers of the jury and also for the supervisor. The key principle of the team is that they are aware and they believe in the right of the refugees to return. And therefore, one of the key driving forces of their project is that not to transfer all of these destroyed historic centers into museums. Instead, they want people to come and make it livable, and this was kind of like the backbone of the project, and also to recognize the massacre that is taking place. اتفضلي.
بالنسبة لموقع القرية فهي موجودة بحيفا على ساحل البحر الأبيض المتوسط مباشرة بدنا نحكي شوي عن development تبع القرية. عندنا مخطط القرية سنة 1945 قبل الدمار اللي حل عليها، ببين عندنا بحر الطنطورة وجذورها الستة اللي بتميزها، بالإضافة لبيوت الفلسطينيين قديما وشبكة الشوارع. ب 23 مايو 1948 صار في عندنا مجزرة الطنطورة بهاي المنطقة، استشهد فيها 280 شخص في وقت واحد ودفنوهم بقبر جماعي بهاي المنطقة. نيجي للبيلت اب اريا حاليا طلع عندنا مستوطنتين، مستوطنة دور ومستوطنة كيبوتس نحشولم، ومحل بيوت الفلسطينيين هلا بنوا اليهود شاليهات على البحر. احنا اشتغلنا على هذا الجزء بالطنطورة اللي هو محل البلدة القديمة، وبعدنا عن الأجزاء السفلية كونها أراضي زراعية. عندنا هون صور من القرية حالياً بتفرجي الجزر وتل الدور الغني بالآثار الرومانية، وبنشوف كيف فاليو الموقع عالي جداً وفي بوتنشيال جداً عالي بالتصميم. نيجي للفيجن وشو إحنا عملنا بالقرية. الفيجن هي تخليد ذكرى حادثة مجزرة الطنطورة اللي صارت بتاريخ 23 مايو 1948 واللي أودت بحياة 280 شهيد من خلال ميموريال انتر أكشن، بالإضافة لخلق نواة لسستينابل سوسايتي يصير ينمو يتطور ويمتد حواليها. إحنا صممنا إليفيتد بولفارد أو بولفارد مرتفع، عكسنا عليه أحداث المجزرة وصار يعمل لنا كونزرفيشن للآثار الموجودة تحته. يعني صفى تحت عنا محميات طبيعية وأوبن لاندسكيب، وصار عنا فوق البولفارد مع المباني يلي بتطل عليه. يعني البولفارد هو نواة التطور وكل شيء بينمو بيمتد وبيتطور خلفه.
دقيقة لو سمحتي ديالا. I think this is quite nice also what the team has been mentioning, which is clearly also in their text, but obviously they refer to the 1945 map of Tantura. There was a graveyard. Obviously there is the massacre that they wanted to build on, but also they were reflecting on the current illegal settlements that have been taking place with they wanted to reflect on that particularly. So what they've done, they built an elevated boulevard, and what was significant about that is that they had these natural reserves underneath the boulevard, so the landscape becomes untouched, while the elevated landscape becomes that journey of the massacre, marking key stations as you note in the drawing in front of you.
رح يبلش هذا البولفارد من شارع 48 يمر بالبلدة القديمة ويمر فوق القبر الجماعي ويكمل على تل الدور الغني بالآثار الرومانية، وبعدها يكمل على الجزر. رح يحتوي البولفارد على 5 ستيشنز، كل ستيشن بتعبر عن مرحلة من مراحل المجزرة، بتبلش من مرحلة ما قبل النكبة وكيف كانت جمالية الطنطورة قبل الدمار، وبتنتهي بمرحلة الأمل وانتهاء الظلام. هاي الستيشنز عبرنا عنها من خلال المعروضات المختلفة، فجزء منه رح يكون عبارة عن Open Air Museum، ومش بس Open Air Museum، لا هو عبارة عن Multifunctional Recreative Place. الناس بدها تيجي تتسوق تتمشى تعمل activities ويصير في عندنا شوز مختلفة، فهو هب للأون بزنس والهوبيز. طول البولفارد 2.5 كيلومتر. إذا بدي أقطعه ببطء وأمر على جميع أنشطته رح أحتاج ل50 دقيقة من المشي. إذا قطعته بسرعة معتدلة رح أحتاج ل30 دقيقة مشي. أما إذا قطعته بسرعة بدون ما أمر على أنشطته رح أحتاج ل20 دقيقة مشي. بالنسبة لخطوط البولفارد والماتيريال والألوان، فإحنا أخذناها من طبيعة الطنطورة نفسها، كيف هي سموث وأورجانيك، حتى المشروع يكون عامل بلند مع الموقع وبيتناغم معه. هلا البولفارد بيروي أحداث المجزرة وبرضه بيوفر مساحات للأنشطة والعروض، لأنه تعرض أهل الطنطورة للمجزرة ما بيعني توقف الحياة والتطور، لأنه التوقف عن الحياة هو النصر للأعداء. هلا البولفارد هو مش
عفواً. Just a quickie, one of the key aspects of this boulevard is its multifunctional aspects, the journey where you go through. And part of it involves an open air museum. But one of the aspects also the team has been talking about this kind of 30-minute versus 50-minute journey. So they've calculated that it's a 2.5 kilometer, and that narrates these activities. And therefore you could have a slow walk, normal walk, and quick walk, and you can experience the different aspects. But they wanted to emphasize on this multifunctionality and the living aspect rather than the museum, the frozen part of the village. تفضلي.
البوليفارد مش بس باسج ينقلني من مكان إلى آخر. البوليفارد هو مالتي فانكشنال كريتيف بليس، هو بابليك سبيس أي تفاعل اجتماعي اقتصادي تجاري. كمان يتضمن يمتد حول البوليفارد مجموعة من المباني اللي تمتد حوله، هي شيرد فاسيلتيز بين السائح والمواطن. لأنه هذه الشيرد فاسيلتيز في الطابق الأول تتضمن عندي المطاعم، الوركشوب، المشاغل والمحلات التجارية، بينما في الطابق الثاني والثالث تتضمن عندي المساكن والأوتيلات. ليش احنا قربنا المناطق السكنيه من البوليفارد؟ انه بطبيعه الحال البوليفارد هو مكان لاي حدا بده يخلق شيء له فيه، سواء كان عنده هوايه بده ينميها او عنده مشروع تجاري بده يفتحه في البوليفارد. هلا بالنسبه للماستر بلان، هي الحد اللي بيفصل بين اول انترفنشن كمان بين اكزيستنج سيتلمنتس، مستوطنة الدور ومستوطنة كيبوتس نحشولن. بداية تجمع الناس رح يتم في بلاست البداية اللي تتجمع الناس تنتظر بعض في بلاست البداية عند الحديقة. هلا راح يتضمن البوليفارد عندي أكثر من ستيشنز. الستيشن الأولى اللي هي لايف بيفور ذا ماسكرز أند بيوتي أوف ذا تنتورة، اللي بتعرض فيها عندي معروضات عن التنتورة كيف كانت الحياة قبل، وبعض الناس بيقدروا من خلالها يشتروا فيها قهوة أي شيء ثاني. المرحلة الثانية اللي هي الهجوم على القرية.
Just one key aspect Shireen was mentioning is this issue of the residential units, that they wanted to keep the residential units away from the boulevard. And therefore it's more kind of like a mixed, there's more mixed activities, but they kept the residential aside, but they're also here marking also the settlements that were there. So they're almost turning their back to them. تفضلي. بس بدي أنوه time, please. Just keep an eye on time. You've already past your time, so just share the key aspects. Don't go too much into the description because we know the project.
Okay. The second station is the هجوم على القرية and تجميع الناس اللي هي تضمن في عندها الأنفيتر. المرحلة الثالثة اللي هي عند مرحلة القبر الجماعي اللي فيها تم دفن 280 شهيد من هلكة الطنطورة، اللي هي متصلة مع الاكزيبيشن سبيس موجود بالأسفل. المرحلة الرابعة هي غياب السياق الحضري، اللي هي تتضمن عرض مصادر الرحيل واللاجئين وأعدادهم، وهي أطول مسافة لأنه من خلالها بيكون فيها العروضات والسيرك وغيرها من الأنشطة. نزل عندي المرحلة الخامسة اللي هي مرحلة تل الدور، اللي هي أعلى منطقة في البوليفارد. كمان هي زي ما لاحظ زجاجية عشان تحافظ على الآثار الموجودة بالأسفل، وهي كمان بقدر من خلالها أشوف موقع الهجوم وموقع المقبرة وكمان البحر اللي بطلعهم من موقع الضمان لموقع البحر للأمل والنظرة الإيجابية للمستقبل. بعدين البوليفارد بيكمل على باقي الجزر سواء كان بينزل على الجزيرة نفسها أو إليفيتد. تفضلي ديالا.
تمام. نيجي للجراوند فلور بلان ونشوف ايش بيصير تحت هذا البولفارد. عندنا هون شارع خدمه بيحتوي على محطات تحميل وتنزيل للبضائع اللي بتخدم الاكشاك.
ديالا اسمحي لي I'm gonna be slightly tough just for time purposes. Go into the key aspects يعني ورجينا شوي the elevations, the 3D, talk through them because we will not have time to go through all these details.
Okay. Traffic plan.
I can only give you one further minute.
اوكي، في عندنا هون ترافيك بلان بيوضح لنا وين مسارات البيدستريان، وين سيارات البنزين بتمشي، وين سيارات الجولف، برضه نقاط الباركينج الموجودة. عندنا برضه ديتيل أفقي بمنطقة البلازاز بتفرجي وين المناطق المبلطة والخضراء والرمل.
الميموريال عندي هاي المقبرة الجماعية اللي بعض الفيجوال بيسز اللي بتعرض فيها مثلا تعرض عندي كل شهيد عن حياتهم اللي هي بتستحضر الأحداث من الماضي. كمان في إحدى الأشياء اللي هي مجسمة البلد القديمة سنة 48، وكمان قطع الفيرتشوال رياليتي كيوبس اللي تعرض فيها صور للقرية، كمان رسائل الأمر بالقطر، رسائل الأمر بالدفن وغيرها من الحقائق.
So the landscape relates to the mass massacre. It relates to different parts of the landscape, also the high points that overlook the sea and overlook the landscape below. These were key aspects as the journey goes.
هاي عندي كمان الأنفيتر اللي هي بعرض فيها غيرها من الحكوات الأنشطة تفاعلية مع الأشخاص. هذه منطقة الميموريال بارك اللي أعطيناها كثير نابوليتي بعيدا عن ضجيج البسطات والحياة، فبلش الناس يعزفوا فيها الموسيقيين هذه المنطقة وبشوف الشعلة اللي بتضيء ذكرى استشهاد الشهداء في قرية الطنطورة. وكمان في عندك اكزبيشن سبيس موجود بالأسفل. عندي كمان منطقة الكورنيش ومنطقة الجزيرة الفلاتية ومنطقة الميناء. هذه المنطقة بتبين عندي كيف عنصر الظل اللي اللي بيطلع من البوليفارد نفسه بيضل المناطق زي الأكشاف والبسطات وساين بوردز اللي بتعرض بعض الحقائق. كمان اهتمينا للجانب أكيد البحر، في عندي كورنيش، منطقة البايك والمظلات وغيرها من النقاط. الاهتمام بكل جزيرة يكون فيه فانكشن محدد فيها، زي مثلا منطقة تل الدور اللي كان فيها تحتها الميناء بمر تحتها البوت وهو زجاج عشان يحافظوا على الآثار الرومانية الموجودة بالأسفل. بينما جزيرة الفريدية سكشن دي هي فيها فيشينج أكواكلتشر وتعليم الأطفال وغوص تحت الماء. وجزيرة المكر اللي فيها اوفرلوك زي ما مبين في السكشن هون. وسكشن اي هي بين عندي كتلة معلقة اللي هي ايفنتس فيديو وكمان مطعم.
Thank you.
هذه public platform زي بتعرفوا فيها الناس بيدبكوا فيها، كان دانس اند يشوفوا لبس أهل الطنطورة اسمها الأهازيج المتنوعة. هذه للرسم. هذه فيجوال سايت لكل المشروع في منطقة المينا، منطقة المباني ميكس يوز، ومنطقة البحر. construction detail.
نيجي للواجهات. بالنسبة
I'm sorry
للواجهات
to
احنا
interrupt,
عندنا
but we're
Just
going
سمحتوا.
quite over time. So
Yes,
just
please,
if you
just-
want to wrap up, maybe
yeah.
20 seconds to say something.
حتى على الواجهات شيرين. بالنسبة للإليفيشنز احنا عملنا أناليسز لواجهات الطنطورة قديما وشفنا انهم كانوا بيستخدموا الحجر، فاحنا دمجنا ما بين القديم والحديث، استعملنا الحجر واستخدمنا معه الزجاج حتى نستغل فيو البحر، بالاضافه لاستعمالنا للجداريات حتى تعبر عن كل نشاط بالبولفارد. بنشوف كيف البولفارد بيطلع منه رامس بتشكل المباني، فبصير في عندنا انتجريشن ما بين البولفارد والمباني، بصير اتنقل ما بين المباني هاي عن طريق هدول الرامبات. وهاي المباني اللي بالبولفارد عباره عن 3 طوابق، طابق تحت عباره عن شيرد فاسيلتيز والباقي اوتيلات وريزيدنشال، وعلى سطح الكتل في عندنا سكاي بارك.
Thank you so much. That was a very great presentation.
Before we go to next, I have 2 quick comments. One is students should speak in English. After all, they have to address the jury and address all the people who will see the recording later on. And besides, your drawings are already in English, so you must be prepared to speak in English. Second thing is, in your maps, you should use only Palestinian place names. You said Tel Dor. This is not a Palestinian name. This is an Israeli name. You are reviving the Palestinian villages, so you should use that. Rim, who's next?
Next to present, can we have MEU01, please?
MEU01. Okay.
Yes.
This is Dina Hisham Al-Nazar from Middle East University. Could you speak?
Yes.
Can I
Dina?
ask you, Dina, kindly to talk concepts and do not get into descriptive details, because don't get into the materials unless they really relate to the concept. Talk about the bigger picture, please.
Okay, well done. Okay.
Dina, when you have 2 minutes, I'll let you know.
Okay. Can you see the screen of the project?
Yes.
Okay. So, hello everyone, good evening. My name is Dina. My project is about Dawaima village. It's a reviving of Dawaima village. I'm from Middle East University and my supervisor is Dr. Shaden Abu Safiya. Location of Dawaima, as we all know, it's located in the western mountains of Hebron and in El Khalil, in occupied part of Palestine. I will not talk a lot about the location because we already know this. I want to talk about the attack on the village. We have 2 main massacres that happened in the village. The first one is Zawiya Mosque massacre. People went for prayer in Friday day and they were all locked in the mosque and killed. And Tur Izzah cave massacre that we have around 35 families that went to hide in the cave and they were all killed by the Israeli forces, and they were asked to stand up in line and they were all killed. And we have here this a picture of Dawaima village before Nakba and after Nakba. and Dawaima today. Today we have on the land of Dawaima, there is a settlement, Israeli settlement, it's called Karmi Katif. It was founded in 2015, and we have another settlement, which is Amatzia. My project location, it's located here, and it has an important node, which is the Mosque Massacre location. And there is another node that is important near the project. It's a natural preservation that have Roman ruins. And here's a picture of the sites. Okay, the concept. My concept is reviving the Dawaima village through genocide. So we have, I want to hide this. Okay, we have stage one. It's breaking the fear. It's actually a settlement house that I destroyed the house. I left everything as it is and destroyed the walls of this house and keep it as a structure. So it's the stage where the journey starts. And then you go to stage two. It's the collective memory, Souq al-Barrain. It's the most famous souq that was in the Dawaima village. And people were coming to this souk from all the surrounding areas. And we have stage three, which is the shock, a Nakba underground museum. This stage actually tells the story and what happened through a Nakba in Dawaima village. And we have stage four is rising from the ashes, Al-Finiq Mosque or Zawiya Mosque. It is located on the same location of the old mosques that were destroyed by Israeli occupation. And we have stage four, that is the Martyrs Memorial Freedom Garden. And the last stage is stage five, Al-Auda Farm, El-Karm. It's a farm that is planted with all the most famous trees from Dawaima village, like figs, grape, and olive trees. So here is the site plan. I want to hide this. Okay. Okay. This is the site plan. We have number one is the skeleton. It's the settlement house that I talked about before, and it is actually the starting point of my project. Is the ending point of Palestinian that were living in Dawaima, because when the Israeli forces trapped the village, it was all trapped from all the sides, and only one road left for Palestinians to escape, and that road was the northeast road that led to Edna village. So I decided to start my project from this axis, that to be the starting point is of the coming back and the reviving. So we have this skeleton, and it was as a time machine that takes you and tell through the spaces to tell the story of Dawaima. We have number two is the souq, as I said. The collective memory, and then the underground museum. Number three, you go with a tunnel underground, and we have four, from the ashes, the revived mosque, and five, we have the Garden of Freedom. So I'm gonna talk about the spirit of the village space, the souq. I tried to use water elements and the most famous trees in the village, like that symbolizes life and peace. We have spaces for people to gather and to communicate with each other. We have shops, and there's a service area and a management area. And while you are walking through the souq, suddenly you think that you are going to keep going in the souq, but suddenly there's a tunnel take you underground to a space that has no life factors. It's actually
2 minutes.
Okay, it's actually Nakba space, and in Nakba space there are lit columns end up with a black hole in the ground that symbolizes the massacre that happened in Tur Zag, and we have the white column symbolizes the martyr souls of the mosque, and we can see a white element. It's actually the minaret of the revived mosque from underground, from the same place of the old mosque, and this is where the name of the project came. We have the revived mosque. While you are going up from the underground with the ram, the first thing you see is the verse from the Quran about the martyrs, and when you keep going, with this ramp, you go up and you understand that the white element underground is actually the minaret of the revived mosque. And we keep walking to the garden, and this garden have the names of the villages and pictures of each village on this in each wall of each village. And after that, you walk with a ramp that takes you up up 3 halls. Actually, these 3 halls are the place of 3 settlements houses. I destroyed them and keep their space as a whole for people to go up with the ramp. And when you go up to the terrace, you see the wall of the martyrs that has actually the names of martyrs of Dawaime village in a pool that symbolizes life. And then we have more pictures of the memorial. And here is, and then you continue with the ramp in the farm. And this is a picture for the farm, and elevations of the project, the whole project, and one section. And this is some pictures for the starting the journey and the collective memory, Souq al-Barrain and El-Karm, the farm. And that's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
And thanks for sticking to time.
Thank you so much.
Next to present, bearing in mind this is not in any order, is NJH01, please.
بشرى بسام.
أنا
بشرى جميل شهادة.
أنا.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Bushra Shahada. I'm from Najah University. My supervisor is Hassan Al-Qadi. I will represent my project on the edge. It's a journey from the end to a new beginning. Here, I will introduce my village, Colonia. The location of the village is very important. It's near Jerusalem, 6 kilometers away from Jerusalem. Okay, in this map, I present my my village, Colonia, in Palestine map, and here I show you the location of Colonia near Jerusalem, 6 kilometers away from Jerusalem. And in the third map, I focus on how central the village was, which is one of the main inspiration that inspired me to create my project. Here, the village now, it's a settlement that's built on all over the land of the village. And here's pictures of Colonia before Nakba. We can see here the houses and how they were built, and it's their architecture. So I focused on 2 things. First thing, this relationship I talked about, and the second thing is that when the citizens left the village, there were 14 mujahideen in the village that fought for Colonia, which is not their village, and that caught my eyes because they died in the village, and their bodies were not found, and there were the land was soaked in their blood. So here I present my proposal. The main reason that caused the destruction of Colonia is that this road, Jerusalem Jaffa, because it was the main access to Jaffa from Jerusalem. So the Israeli occupation needed to destroy this village in order to control the area. So I focused on returning the street to its original place, and given a main access to the center of the village, which is the I surrounded the center of the village with a ring road that emphasizes the importance of this center. I also created a journey with three stops. And here I will talk about my concept. First, when you enter the location of my project from the ring road, you will enter by this access, which is the Colonia Jerusalem access. You enter into this shallow water here. It's shallow because I wanted to work like a mirror. When the visitor comes and see his own reflection, he will put himself in the place of the martyrs, and he will think, if it wasn't for the martyrs, I wouldn't be here at this moment. And then and in the center of this lake, there is a well. Because the village was had a lot of wells, and it was okay. So the second stop is the 14 canals, water canals that symbolizing the 14 martyrs and honor them. And people get to walk through these canals with black tiles. Why black tiles? Because they symbolize the fire and the ashes. So the visitor will proceed and get down the stairs, and the canals continue to get down until they meet in a lake. And then we see 14 fountains, also referring to the 14 martyrs, and also giving the idea of our martyrs are always alive. And the last stop where the water lands in the agriculture center and irrigate the crops. So here's the plans. The museum plans had restaurants, also exhibitions, and a lot of things. Agriculture center plans had educational functions and also interaction functions where the visitor can plant himself and get attached to the village. Here's some visualizations. This is the canals I talked about. This is interior shot, and this is the agricultural center. And I have a video to represent. Do I have time?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to see.
مرات بنفع شاي كبيرة كان في مكان بيتنا ثالث بيت أول البلد.
هذول فوق دارنا الشجر هذا ميرش بك عايش فيه، أمي عايشة فيه، وأخوتي عايشين فيه، كل البلد عايشة فيه، هي بحري كل البلد ماخذينها.
أهل البلد تستفيد من حالها من شغلها. طلعونا وقعدنا. صبحت الصبحيات الطيارة تخبط فوق ده. عندنا زيتون، لا نشتري زيت ولا زيتون ونبيع. وعندنا قمح، محلات قمح برضو.
نطلع على راس الجبل واشرف على الوادي واقول يا مرحبا يا مرحبا نسم هوا بلادي.
يا طالعين من عقبة الصوان استنوا للعريس بمرتع الكامل. يا طالعين من عقبة البرية استنوا للعريس بكرة نحدية.
So this is the beginning of the journey. This is the well. This is the 14 canals. And the fountains. And
Thank you,
that's all.
Bushra. Thank you, Bushra.
Thank you. That was excellent. Really enjoyable.
We have NJH02 to present.
يعطيكم العافية. أنا خولة أبو زهيدة. مشروعي أضواء النفق. رح أبلش العرض بهذا الفيديو.
I will do the translation every now and then.
في قهوة اسمها قهوة المينا، تقعدي عليها تشوفي البحر قدامك، الزوارق، البلد متحضرة تقريبا نوعا ما يعني. المجزرة في يوم 22 أيار 1948 الساعة 12 بالليل سمعنا الرصاص. كانوا يجوا اليهود، هجموا اليهود، هاجمونا من البحر ومن البر. الله ما هو ما حيا عمي، ما ترك فيها غير بيت اليحيى والمدرسة. والله ظلوا يقاموا يا حرام، الله يرحمهم. استشهد حتى ما ظل معهم فشكي وحدي ما ظل معهم. البلد عدد سكانها 2000 نسمة. تصوري 270 272 البلد عدد سكانها 2000 نسمة. كارثة مصيبة.
لحتى أقول لك إنه مهما بلغتي من السعادة بلا وطن لا يمكن فيه سعادة أبدا أبدا أبدا. تثبتوا وتمكنوا. معلش لو يعني أنا ما بقدر أقول معلش أقولها بسهولة، عندي أولاد وبعرف قديش الضنا غالي وأنا مع كل الأمهات، لكن طالما بتضحي بالابن كرمال الأرض والتراب والوطن، إذا هي أغلى، هي الأرض أغلى. فما يعني عاجزين عن أي وصف، بس إحنا عايشين هيك والله. الله وكيلك يا مرضى.
Can we hear description of the project?
مشروعي أضواء النفق هو عنوان مشروعي الذي يهدف إلى إعادة إحياء قرية الطنطورة المهجرة. في مشروعي درست تاريخ القصة التراجيدية المستمرة حتى الآن. حين درست الهندسة المعمارية لم يكن هدفي أن أعمر بيتا أو مجمعا سكنيا، كان هدفي أن أعمر أرضا. وفي مشروعي هذا كان هدفي أن أعيد صياغة الجغرافيا كما يجب أن تكون، لا كما أرادوا. بالعودة خطوات للوراء عدنا في أروقة القصة لتاريخ تشكل بشكل لم يرده أي منا، بطريقة مختلفة عن ما كان يجب أن يكون لقرية فلسطينية ساحرة، قرية الطنطورة، لكنها لمعت في الذاكرة بسبب المجزرة التي قتلت روح القرية قبل أن تدمرها.
Just kind of to emphasize on Khawla, which I remember when as a jury we were talking together discussing this project, Khawla wanted to emphasize the importance that her aim generally and interest is not really to design a building as much as to rethink and redefine the whole geography and bring back kind of certain aspects of very importance to here. And this is one of the key aspects that this project is building on.
بالعودة خطوات للوراء عدنا في أروقة القصة لتاريخ القرية. جاءت فكرة المشروع لتضيء على نقاط معمارية وتاريخية مهمة تساعدنا على صياغة مستقبلها وإحيائها بأكثر العناصر العالقة في ذاكرة أصحابها، هما المجزرة والبحر كما ذكر بالفيديو قبل شوي. كل هذه الرموز تكاملت معا في نصب تذكاري فوق الموقع الذي اكتشف فيه وجود القبر الجماعي على موقف السيارات التابع لمستوطنة دور المقامة حاليا على أراضي الطنطورة. كان هدف المشروع التعبير إحياء ذكرى شهداء القرية 270 تقريبا، وعدم وصفهم بالأرقام والتعبيرات التي اعتدنا عليها، بل لأن شهداء الطنطورة وفلسطين أقمار تنير طريقنا لا أرقام، وتأكيدا على أن كل شهيد هو حلم وحكاية وربما مشروع لم يكتمل لكنه ينير الطريق نحو الحرية الحتمية. بعد اختيار موقع المشروع
عفوا خليكي معي دقيقة. I will not be able to explain things as beautifully as Khawla is explaining, but the key aspect, the special aspect of this project is that it's based on the mass grave that has taken place in Tantura, as you can see. And the aim, Khawla wanted to emphasize, and this mass grave is currently the car parking of the illegal settlement. So Khawla wanted to emphasize in this project that martyrs are not numbers, and this is one of the key aspects that will drive the project. She refers to them not numbers, but a moon that is lightening our way, and this hence comes this aspect of the lighthouse or the Khawla will explain it just later in a bit. تفضلي.
بعد اختيار موقع المشروع تم توجيه المشروع على امتداد الشارع الرئيسي للقرية لإعطائه لجعله محطة بارزة وأولى لكل من يزور القرية، ولإضفاء أهمية إضافية للمشروع تم إحاطته بجدار نصف دائري، وللتأكيد على أن أكثر ما هو عالق في ذاكرة أهالي القرية هم المجزرة والبحر. تم دمج المشروع بالبحر بحيث تكون بداية النصب التذكاري على موقع السيارات وهو موقع القبر الجماعي، ونهايته في البحر امتدادا إلى جزيرة الفتيلة المقابلة لموقف السيارات. تنقسم الرحلة شوي. بدي أعرض واحدة ثانية.
So as Khawla, meanwhile she shows the next slide. She wanted to, because what stuck with people's memory is both the massacre and the sea, the project journey starts by that mass grave and ends into the sea. And this kind of defines the boundary of the project.
تقسم الرحلة إلى 3 محطات. المحطة الأولى هي مركز الزوار، فيها أهم الخدمات التي يحتاجها الزوار عند زيارة هذا النصب التذكاري. المحطة الثانية هي المسار المستقيم. المسار يعبر على كل جانب منهما يعبر عن نكبة حلت على أهالي الطنطورة. النكبة الأولى هي نكبة الهجرة، تم التعبير عنها ب3 محطات محاطة بجدار يحمل جدارية تعبر عن اللاجئين. المحطة الأولى فيه تعبر عن القرية، تم الاستعانة برموز تعبر عنها مثل السفينة وشباك مطل على منطقة مزروعة بالزنبق، لأن آخر ما علق في ذاكرة أهالي القرية رائحة زنبق شاطئ البحر الممزوج بمسك شهداء الطنطورة. أما المحطة الثانية هي محطة الهجرة، تم التعبير عنها بمتاهة من منطلق الضياع الذي شعر فيه اللاجئين في تلك المرحلة. المحطة الثالثة هي محطة المنفى، مطلة على البحر بشق ضوء يعبر عن الأمل الذي عاش من خلاله أهالي الطنطورة. بالنسبة للجانب الآخر هي النكبة الثانية اللي حلت على أهالي الطنطورة هي نكبة المجزرة، محاطة بجدار.
Khawla just used kind of specific spatial language to represent the catastrophe or the Nakba, and she is referring to 2 Nakbas, but one of the features she was using is this idea of a window that looks through a flower garden with its scent. The other one is a maze that kind of represent kind of a metaphor for the difficulty. And the third one, I نسيت إيش كان الجيرني الثالثة خولة.
المنفى.
Basically the displacement, the diaspora was kind of like that third charity, which is kind of like the displacement from their own land.
There's 1 minute left.
بالنسبة للمسار المستقيم في المنتصف في سقفه أسماء جميع أهالي الطنطورة، يمتد إلى مسار البحر الذي يساعد الذي يقدم للزائر رحلة في بحر الطنطورة الخلاب يعود فيها إلى المحطة الأخيرة وهي محطة العودة. تم التعبير عنها بمنارة يستطيع من خلالها الزائر رؤية طنطورة من فوق كتعبير أنه عاد لها، بالإضافة إلى هدفها الرئيسي من أنها توجه السفن إلى قرب البحر.
So the journeys end with the lighthouse, which kind of represents that notion of return and hope, but obviously in addition to its actual function, which kind of guides the ships to come to that part of the geography.
شرحت سابقا أنه في منطقة البحر في إضاءات تعبر عن الشهداء، محاط بها جدار فيه مدرج يستطيع الزائر من خلاله مشاهدة اندماج ضوء البحر بشاطئ الطنطورة. كل ذلك يعبر عن موقع النصب التذكاري وهو موقع القبر الجماعي، يمتد منه إلى باقي أجزاء القرية بطريقة مقاربة لوضع القرية قبل النكبة، فتم إعادة جميع العناصر المهمة إلى موقعها الرئيسي كالمركز والبيدر والميناء، بالإضافة إلى مصنع الزجاج. هذا المصنع هو بداية الاستيطان الإسرائيلي في القرية. حسب ما هو منقول أن مقاتلي الطنطورة في ليلة المعركة اختبأوا فيه، ولهذا السبب اهتميت أنه يضل موجود بطريقة يعرض فيها معاناة أهل المعاناة اللي شعر فيها أهل الطنطورة.
Paula tried to bring back some key features from the village and kind of like relocate them. One of them was an old factory, a glass factory, which was built by the occupier. But the story that Khawla is referring to is that the freedom fighters were hiding in that factory, and therefore she wanted to bring that back to revive their memory. Shukran, Khawla. Reem, are we?
Yes, thank you, Khawla. I think Khawla dipped out, but she's back. But I think we're kind of tight with time now. But thank you, Khawla, for presenting.
I think now
you're on
time,
mute. We can't hear you. But
it's time now to hear our distinguished jury to have further remarks on the presentations.
Can I ask the remarks be made in the same order of presentation? So Reem could start, and then Angela, Yara, and then myself.
Yeah, sure.
Thank
So I'm
you.
going to keep it quite short because we've already heard the presentation, but we felt that there was something really powerful about, this is for AQU01, the first presentation. We felt that there was something really powerful about taking a stance in not wanting to turn the 530 displaced villages into artifacts for people to spectate or gaze onto. It challenges how we look at our histories, which are beyond a spectacle to be objectified. The notion that revival means realizing the right of return was a clear intention in the submission response. The design takes into consideration the ever-evolving world that we live in and acknowledges the new generations to come. So it's you know, quite strong in its contemporary design. It realizes that although Palestine has a strong and deep-rooted history in farming and agriculture, there are other avenues to be explored while still considering the landscape and existing infrastructure as well as the materiality used. Divided into stations, the master plan reflects a timeline and key moments in the Al-Tantura village massacre, and we thought that it was really powerful in weaving the history into the landscape, and it really embraced the coastal line. So a connection between events and land was really strong. The concept of time is also further enhanced by encouraging the user to slow down and engage with the landscape. You know, what you explained about the 20-minute, 30-minute, 50-minute walking was very beautifully well explained. It shows how you're allowing the user to engage with the landscape through the interventions that you created in each station. So all in all, well done on a very well thought out project.
Thank you, Reem. Lovely.
Hi, I'm going to talk about the MEU01. When we were discussing this project, it was absolutely amazing that such a strong concept, like so many of them. And just to say, all of the projects that we looked at, they were just brilliant. They were just brilliant. But I'm commenting on this one. I loved the whole journey of this this concept through space, and the whole fact that you would be going through the old souk, and then you would get that shock, and you would go underground into the dark Nakba space. I thought that was so well handled. And I think that suddenly, when you're kind of, as you say, without the life and the sparkles of the kind of the new souk that's being brought back overhead, you're going through this journey, and like a phoenix, you are rising out of the ashes, because you see that light that you've so carefully produced, which is part of the light of the mosque coming up. And I just think that the way that's been done with the little line, the blocks, the actual visual images, I can imagine walking through that space, seeing the light, and then coming up. And I think that the whole journey and the way that that's been handled must be so vibrant. I'd really love to see it built. The way that the whole thing, but the red columns of that was so traumatic, dramatic. And I could imagine that if you were underground and you see these columns and you can see the way that the dark red columns are falling down and there's the hole at the end, it's more than poetic. It's the 3D of a tragedy, and I could imagine that looking at that would be quite heart-wrenching, actually. But then coming up, and the good story is the architecture you've created with the light, and I love the Arabic writing with the light behind it, and I love the Garden of Freedom, where you have the villages, the writing, and the pictures behind. I think that is just so beautiful and so strong. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela.
Thank
Yara?
you. Thank you. I want to talk about Bushra's project, Qalunya. The project's title is Journey from End to the Beginning, to the New Beginning. A lot of interesting aspects about this project. To start with was the concept itself of going backwards rather than going forward, but also the idea of the journey itself. A lot of metaphors were used, which we thought were very innovative and creative. Metaphors like the idea of starting by seeing your own reflection on the water, and then you get on with your journey. The journey starts to unpack itself slowly. There was a lot of beautiful, playful, spatial aspects in that. There was a very nice mapping. There was a very nice research that is put into it, and also this aspect of the political ecology that marks Colonia, and it's a problem that it's still going on in that particular part with the isolation of the villages around that central part that connects Jerusalem to Jaffa. All of these we felt were very interesting and very strategic and very important to address. There was a lot of consistency in the architectural language being used, the ambition in the play, in the materiality, the play with water element, the play with the perforated mesh metal that was used, elevating also some of the journeys above ground. And one of the very few projects that put emphasis also on agriculture as well as the building and the landscape, something that Nasser also mentioned earlier about what was beautiful about this and important is for us to address also the ecology, the social ecology, and aspects that were well addressed in this particular scheme. We very much enjoyed also the film. So well done for the project.
Thank you very much. It's me, right?
Can I proceed now?
Okay, it was nice listening to the jury. Of course, we never get a chance to actually talk so coherently about the work when we are arguing and discussing. So it's really nice to hear that. The project that we've just seen, quite amazing. It's probably one of the exemplar of how text, which is the written idea, metaphor, architectonics, and spatial passion come together. What I liked about this project, and I think most of us, the jury, we really liked about this project, was how beautifully it was written and described in English. The language was very good and it's really read very well. And how the concept, the text actually drove the concept. And it was the generator of the design itself, because there are many times when you get really amazing text and then you get design, or you get really interesting design, but in this case, the history of the place, the moments where things happen, the memories and so on, they drove the project, and you can see it, you can feel it. Especially, I actually really enjoyed watching the video, which we hadn't seen, so it reinforced our kind of passion and for the project. The project is very much about the journey. It's a route, it's a memory, about footprints of the old as well. Key buildings are brought back into the equation, which is actually, again, really, I think, well acknowledged, I think is quite good that we don't get too excited by building so much. You can bring in existing buildings. And the journey was very clear. And then this very layered project with these spatial kind of elements that goes from, it's quite brave, because what the designer is doing is just taking this route and bring it right away up to the edge of this coast and gives you very large space to think. So these are kind of what I would call thinking spaces. Spaces when you're not bombarded with massive amount of buildings and so on, but actually you're allowed to enjoy the landscape. And the landscape itself and the project has a kind of inside out. A lot of the time you don't know, especially the video is very interesting, that there are times that you don't know whether you're inside or outside, which is interesting, is this ambiguity of the threshold between the inside and outside was explored quite well and demonstrated quite well. And the elements, these new, what I also quite liked was the kind of bravery of the designer with bringing in the old factory. The old factory has a memory and connecting it very well to the history of the place, and not being not having to bombard the space and flood it with lots of design. It's actually the factory itself, the volume is void, it's dramatic, it's dynamic, but it's actually quite powerful in that way. So if I was to summarize this project, by the way, I must say before summarizing that the presentation, the submission was good. It was very clear. There were a lot of good diagrams. I think that's always very important for the jury when we have very little time and you have to see so many. These diagrams are actually really useful, conceptual diagrams, when we can see the axonometry, the kind of exploded axonometry is very clear. It says, and it links itself not only to the multifunctional things, the proposals that the project does, but also to the kind of concept, which I think that was quite good. So if I was to kind of do a summary of this project, which is a kind of a project which brings metaphor, architectonics, and memory together, I would say there were sort of three really amazing spaces in here. One was the thinking spaces. These are the sort of open walking spaces that you can think, you can absorb and imagine what that situation was. The metaphoric spaces, and also spaces of memory with history, which has been, which has the footprint of the factory or the traces of the whole building. So all of which were very well integrated. So I enjoyed it very much, and well done to the designer. I think that the designer has a long way to go, but it has a lot of passion, and I think has a lot of potential. Fantastic, well done.
Thank you all.
Salman, you're muted.
Sorry?
No, it's not me.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I couldn't thank the jury enough. They are dedicated people. They are prominent people in their fields, in the universities and in the engineering practice. And they have been dedicated to this competition for the last 77 years. And through their work and through their supervision, we have seen the work of 270 young architects. In the last 7 years, 270 young architects have participated in this competition, and we hope for more. They have already covered 60 villages, the reconstruction of 60 villages, which are, of course, we have 530 destroyed villages, but the 60 villages are represented in vernacular architecture because they represent the areas in the coast, the areas in the Galilee Hills, and in the mountains of Jerusalem, and in southern Palestine. So the 50 or 60 villages which have been redesigned by young people really represent enough to be a good basis for the construction of future Palestine. And all the work which we're going to do in the future is adding and complementing this skeleton work. It's marvelous work. And I hope with the jury, we will make use of this knowledge in Palestine. If I may be allowed now to tell you the jury verdict about the results of the, in other words, the awards this year. As usual, we announce them in reverse order. The jury awarded commendation, that's تقدير بالعربي, certificate for Bushra Bassam Jamil Shahada, who is from the University of Al-Najah, supervised by Dr. Hassan Al-Qadi. Congratulations, Bushra. The third prize is not awarded this year. We go then to the next to the second prize. Is awarded to Dina Hisham Al-Nazir of Middle East University, supervised by Dr. Shadin Abu Safia. Congratulations, Dina. Congratulations, Dina. Now we come to the first prize. Now, what's your the next announcement? The first prize is a special one because it's given to two presentations. So the first prize is jointly between the following. First, Khawla Nizam Abu Zahida, again from Najah University, also supervised by Dr. Hassan Al-Qadi. Dr. Hassan has two prizes to go home to. And the other joint first is jointly Shireen Shibat and Dayala Laham from Al-Quds University, supervised by Dr. Ashraf Abu Hilal. Is he with us?
Bravo.
Bravo. So we will communicate with you on these prizes, and very soon, in less than 10 days, we'll announce for year 8 competition. Let me just make a small addition to the jury statements. I advise every new participants to follow the news and the net and conferences and so on. What we have given them is basic skeleton structure. Every day, some new ideas and new information comes up. Like Tantura now has so many presentations before, and they have films now, and they are in news. So is Dawaima. There is Visualizing Palestine group. They always have, representations in a new way about Palestine 1948 and so on. So do not be satisfied with what we give you. It's only just an appetizer for you to build on them. And we look forward to year 8. Nasser, you suggested some of the winners may have something to say.
Yes, it would be nice to hear from them.
Anyone want to make a comment from the winners?
بدي أشكركم على هيك تجربة. صراحة المسابقة ما كانت بالنسبة لي مرتبة قد ما هي كانت رسالة كنت حابة أوصلها عن قرية الطنطورة. كنت حابة أوصل مشاعر اللي وصلت لي من أهالي الطنطورة نفسهم. كنت بدي أختم قبل شوي بس قطع، يعني لما عرضت قطع، فكنت بدي أحكي إنه إن شاء الله إنه يكون هذا المشروع الصفحة الأولى لطريق الحرية القادم، اللي ممكن من خلاله نشوف الطنطورة ونتنفس البحر بكل ما أوتينا من سعة، لنضم جراح من عاش آبائهم النكبة وعاشوا هم مرارة الغربة والتهجير. يعطيكم العافية.
شكرا.
يعطيكم العافية. بدي أشكر القائمين على المسابقة اللي أتاحوا لنا الفرصة نوصل مشروعنا للعالم. برضه بدي أشكر الكادر التعليمي في دائرة الهندسة المعمارية بجامعة القدس اللي كانوا داعمين لنا، وبالتحديد المشرف على مشروعنا الدكتور الفاضل أشرف أبو هلال اللي أعطانا من وقته وخبراته طول هاي السنة. وطبعا هذا الإنجاز هو فخر لنا ولجامعتنا ولدكاترتنا، وألف مبارك لباقي الفائزين، وجود لك للناس اللي ما حالفها الحظ. شكرا.
Thank you. اسمحوا لي بس أترجم على السريع قبل. Khawla wanted to just kind of like emphasize that even though she's of course very happy that she is winning, but she also felt that with this competition she had a very important message that she wanted to share, and this message is really from the residents of Tantura. She wanted their voice to be heard, and she's seeing herself as their voice, something that she is very proud of. She said a lot of other beautiful stuff that I cannot translate, so forgive me for that. Diala also is reflecting her appreciation. Of course, very happy with the win, but also very much is appreciating and thanking her supervisors at Al-Quds University. If I may also take this opportunity to thank all the universities for their input, because we can feel all the effort that is being put in there. I'll stop there.
Yeah, there's been such a fantastic amount of work that's gone into all of these projects, and we can really see that. We can see, you know, the love, the determination, the passion, and it's congratulations to you all. It's been absolutely a pleasure being a judge of this competition again, and it's lovely to see the hope, and we just hope that they come to fruition one day.
Thank you all very much. I have a concluding remark. Now that it is time to convert the ideas into action. You young people are the builders of future Palestine. So it is not enough to submit and enter a competition. Once you have to dedicate your professional life into that. And so many of you who have been through this competition, whether they won or not, have formed an organization for the future of Palestine. It is called Palestine Reconstruction Architects Association. At the moment, they have 50 members, and we encourage everybody to join this organization of people who are dedicating themselves in the future for building future Palestine. We help them in many ways to enter to contact with other organizations, job opportunities, future projects, exhibitions, media, communication with each other, development of new ideas, all for the purpose of future Palestine. They elected the chairman, one of you, his name is Zakaria Al-Assar, and any one of you, or all of you, are encouraged to be members of this association, to convert your ideas into action. This is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of the beginning chapter of the story. Thank you all very much. Once again, I never tire of thanking our jury. Thank you very much, and thank you all for participating.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure. We're just wondering, Mr. Dr. Salman, if for the next competition, because we were thinking with the jury, whether there could be a introduction that's possibly we can, as members of the jury, we can introduce or have some introductory discussion to show how the projects could actually develop and how the submissions could become more and more precise, more and more clear. It's something that we, if you recall, we had a discussion with, you know, one could even run a workshop to discuss it, but it could be either an online workshop or just the introduction when you are launching the next competition.
Sorry. It's a great idea, great idea. I know, Nasser, you have presented this idea before, and we have to act on it. Now I have here on the screen supervisors like Hassan Qadi and Thaer who are involved in that. And I asked them, and I will send the letter to all the other coordinators, if they can arrange for the new candidates to meet with you and you guide them early. We can do it twice. 1 or 2 months into the competition, and the other 1 month before the conclusion, like in July, for example. So I asked the coordinators, Thaer and Hassan and others who may not be here, to help us in selecting a time for their students to listen to the jury before they embark on their design, to have the right ideas about it. Thank you, Nasser, very much. This is an idea which we have not done, and we think we should do it now.
We have 2 hands up.
Yeah.
Dina?
I want to thank everyone who is working in this competition, and I want to thank my supervisor, Dr. Shadan Abu Safiya, and also I want to thank architect Angela for talking about my project in that fashion, and shows here how much she liked my work, and that's all. Thank you everyone so much.
Dr. Thaer, yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
First of all, thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Salman, for the great work as always. Thank you, my friend, the jury members, Reem, Nasser, Angela, and Yara. Great effort as always. Last year, I suggested to have a live jury for the shortlisted. I still insist in having a live jury. Will benefit a lot the jury members and the competition itself and the participants. On the other hand, I second what Nasser said. Having a meeting with the participant, with the jurors, would be great. At an early stage, we can have 2 meetings. As projects, they will have 2 semesters to work on. The first semester will be the thesis itself and the research part, and they'll start designing on the second semester. So maybe we can have two meetings: introductory meeting the first semester, which will be in October or early November, and the second meeting will be in the second semester, which will be in January, February, when they start really designing the project. But then please consider having a live jury. Somehow it will be a great educational process more than having a ceremony announcing the winners. I have comment on this cycle because I'm not participating this year. My students didn't participate this year. I like the conceptual approach with all the participants. This year, I noticed that all the projects focused more on a conceptual approach, which is interesting, and the symbolic side was noticeable and commended. But let's push in this direction more. And thank you all again. And congratulations to all the winners.
Thank you. Can I just ask, how do you see the process of live jury?
The shortlisted, you can ask them to participate one day. You can start early in the morning, but you need at least 5 hours. Each one will present full presentation, not 6 minutes. You can give him 20 minutes, and then the debate between the jurors and most of the time, drawings won't show the real project, the real strength of the project. Sometimes the verbal presentation will help presenting or showing the strength of the project. And it's good for the participant to talk about their project. Let them be more involved verbally, not just technically. And the debate itself, it will be great chance for you and for them. I know it will be extra burden on you, but that's you have to deal with it.
Well, we actually had a discussion during our jury session that possibility of even engaging the audience and the others to also do a people's vote, as it were. I think, Angela, if you remember, we had this discussion, which is slightly different to what the live jury says, but
like a public vote. Yeah.
Which could also, which means we have to slightly change the order, the kind of configuration so that others could have access to the drive, etc. So it does need rethinking, but there are great ideas. I think it's just constraints, time, and everything else. But yes, I think definitely we should do something slightly different next year. If we could start with introducing it. There used to be these competition called Europan that used to take place across the Europe, if you remember, Angela.
Yeah.
And what was, that was a few years ago when we were a bit younger. It was for architects underfoot. And what was interesting about the Europan competition was that sites were offered by municipalities, different municipalities across whole Europe. There were sites in Spain, in Italy, and wherever, and the municipalities who were offering the sites would offer a whole day where the jury and those who are interested in the competition would come in, see the site, we'll talk about it. It would be a whole day. I mean, that's much bigger, of course. And it was very open. I think what was nice about it, what was good about it, was that there wasn't this kind of intellectual secrecy. It was quite important that you discussed it. The jury said, this is what we expect in the municipality. We're saying that's what we. So as designers, you would go in very informed, very positively thinking, okay, how can we design to contribute to the place rather than win the competition? And in fact, what was also interesting, which I don't think is applicable here, was that the winner would actually get the chance to either build their proposal or something else. So there always was a building that would come out of it. But anyway, that was really quite nice. I don't know how many times it ran, I think how many years, but I participated in 2. I don't know, Angela, if you know how many.
Probably I thought it was about 5, but I'm not sure.
5 probably. It was very difficult, but it takes a lot of organization, commitment. Which I think something like this also needs some form of a bit more commitment. We had the idea of even running a workshop. I think at some point we had the idea that we might run a workshop when they have people have entered. You still organize a day of workshop, which kind of you mentor it or something. Anyway, so a lot of ideas.
That's great. That's great. As soon as we have enough number of participants, we'll come back to you, seeking your advice to them, and we'll arrange that.
But what about, is it Dr. Tahir? What about yourselves being more engaged with us?
What do you mean?
Well, you could be part of the jury, you can help to organize.
Next year, I have 2 students who said they'd like to participate, but I don't think I can be a jury member if I have if I'm supervising students. If not, I'll be more than happy to join.
Unless you could be part of the organizational sort of team.
I'm ready to help in any way I can.
Because it would be quite good to have a bit more local representation in the group. And if we can, if you think, because you're also familiar with the semester time, and then we can probably agree a reasonable time, say when you think is reasonable. End of October, 1st of November would be the first meeting, and the other one. And I think in that way, because it is very useful to have an academic who is familiar with the semester timing and the structure of it. And I think that might be quite good if Salman
well, let us see how many people will register for this year, and let us see among their supervisors who will be willing to give advice. I think it's a good idea, but it needs to be mature, the idea to be mature.
Yeah. The other option is also to ask the students to do 1-minute recording that sums up their project, and it becomes part of their submission. Because, I mean, for us, even though I appreciate Mr. Thayer, what you're saying about students presenting, but we also would like the drawings to speak as well on their own where possible, But that doesn't mean that creative forms of representations won't be encouraged. So if they would like to do also a short recording, it would be really lovely. And the whole aim of what Nasser and the jury team are suggesting about the introduction is really, as you noted, to encourage students to be more conceptual, more innovative in their representation, more generous in how they show drawings, not squeezing too much in one slide, etc. So all aspects can be built on for the next competition.
Yes, Yara, I do agree totally with what you said. The drawings should be self-explanatory for sure, and the technical drawings should be the presentation. I personally, I love good presentation.
Yeah.
The jury will be for the shortlisted, not for the whole group. Usually it will be for 5 or 6 students. It will be doable. But to pass, to be shortlisted, you have to have very good technical drawings at the first stage. As for the 1 minute recording, we did it at JGU in the Corona stage, where we couldn't have a live jury. We asked the student to do the PowerPoint presentation verbally. So it will be 15 minutes full presentation, but verbally. It's doable to add a few minutes recording, which is also a commended idea.
All right. Any last comments? Because we are running out of time.
I think Hassan is trying to, my colleague Hassan.
Hassan.
Okay.
Hassan had 2 successful.
I want to brief just, please, I want to thank you all, especially Dr. Salmana Busetta, for your marvelous work, and all the involved people in this competition. I would like to thank all the students, all the participants from all the universities. I would like to graduate all the winners and all the supervisors. This is very important work for all. We hope for the next competitions, more students will be involved and more supervisors. You had a lot of conversation about how to make the jury. I would, I think, adding about 1 or 2 minutes for students recorded speech for the jury would be a good suggestion. Thank you all. Thank you for your effort. Thank you.
Could I have one last comment, Salman?
Yes.
Do you know what would be really nice is, of the winners, if the winners could do a recording of presenting to, as if they're presenting to us again in a precise 5 minutes, then that could be maybe disseminated to a much wider audience. And then that will also give encouragement for more people next year to join in. But to have, now that we know who the winners are, now that you all know who the winners are, would that be possible?
Yes, it is possible. And I would extend that actually a bit more. We have done it once, and there was a great enthusiasm about the idea that we made the team, which made the winning design, made meet the village people themselves in the refugee camps in Lebanon, and with the Zoom, they can be anywhere. And the people of the village were astounded by the design, and they asked the young architects, where is the Madafa, where is the Al-Jami', where is this, what did you do with this? It was heart-wrenching, really, experience. I put it in our website, because see what we have done in Suhmata village. It really is, I mean, after all, we do this for them. They are the beneficiaries of this design. And these young people are the builders of the future. And they tell them, it gave them hope. The older people of the village were astounded how accurate and how good it was. And the young people of the village who heard the story from their grandparents, they said, yes, we can add also a club for our people who are in the diaspora. They should come and see. It's really remarkable. So please do not spare any remarks and ideas to make the next one more profitable than this year. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. And any last remark? Oh, yes. Can I give Zakaria half a minute to tell us? He is the president, elected president of PRAA, the Association of Palestinian Reconstruction Architects. Are you with me, Zakaria? Zakaria, you are there? He's gone.
He was here
Anyway,
just a second
he
ago.
was here. He was here. I just saw him. Anyway, all right. All right. Thank you again very, very much. Thank you. All ideas will pour into the right channel. It's like a river. It has many tributaries and it all pour in the same direction. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We have to build, we have to build future Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done all. Well done also to the new universities who participated this year.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
fantastic.
we need the old ones not to be absent also.
Yeah, we
Thank
need
you.
everybody.
We will.
Yeah.
Come
Okay.
back.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night,
Cheers.
everybody.